Hi everyone, my name is Asha Creary and I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Texas, and I am a licensed professional counselor supervisor in the state of Missouri. So I do currently offer supervision in Missouri, not quite yet in Texas. Catch me January 2024. So today I am going to get into what to actually look for in a supervisor. So I love talking about this mainly because a lot of times people really don't know what they need or want in a supervisor because they really don't know where they want to go with their career, but they kind of have some insight on what that's going to look like for them. So let's get into specialties. So one thing you're going to want to do is find a supervisor that specializes in things that you're interested in working on. For example, I am a licensed professional counselor who works with CBT. I also work with sand tray and play therapy. I used to be a school counselor and I am working on my RPT hours. So although I am not a RPT supervisor, I have experience in play therapy and I will hopefully by then be RPT approved. So what that means is not only am I certified as a school counselor in the state of Texas, I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Texas, and I will have my RPT certification in the state of Texas. I already have my sand tray certification in which I can provide you on the tools and tips and how to get into sand tray. And then I will also have my EMDR certification. So the population that I currently specialize in is those struggling with childhood trauma, those struggling with anxiety, and I work with kiddos who are struggling with anxiety, intrusive thoughts, stress, worry, and sometimes parent-child conflict. I try to steer away from that as far as possible, but it comes across my desk from time to time. So I said all that to say is that once I become a supervisor, I will be someone who will have had experience working in the school system, not only as a teacher, but as a school counselor, a 504 coordinator, and a SPED specialist. So if you're a school counselor transitioning into private practice, I have that experience and I know how to support you as an outside supervisor while still within the school system. On the flip side of that, I have experience in private practice, how to start a private practice, how to do billing and coding, how to get credentialed with the insurance panels, how to set up intake paperwork, how to collect that, EHR systems, all the things that you would need to kind of jumpstart your career in private practice if you have no anticipation on moving into this career working for other people once you get approved. So in the state of Texas, based on my experience going to seminars and 3, 4, 5 day long conferences, it has been notated that as an LPC associate, you can have your own private practice. So if you're an LPC associate and you want to get into your own private practice, that is something I can also support with, in addition to working through your notes, looking through those, reading them, make sure they're ethical, also helping you facilitate difficult conversations with your clients and or parents that work with your clients, okay? And I have experience working with kids in private practice, with parents, adults. I also worked in a mental health hospital. So I have experience and I also worked in an agency. So I have so much experience that not only would you just get supervision in general counseling, once you grow in your technique and your theory, I can support you in transitioning into, okay, I think I can do private practice, or how do I navigate becoming a contractor for a private practice? That's something I can support with as well. So find someone who offers multiple specialties that work with the population that you wish to serve. Now, you might not be good at it yet. You might not even know what you want to do, but if you find a supervisor that has experience in a lot of different specialties, that would be an absolute great fit, just because one, you don't know what you want to do, and two, they'll be able to expose you to things that you've not really been exposed to. Okay, so look for a supervisor with multiple specialties. Again, find an LPC supervisor who, again, if you want to work with kids, RPT supervisor, get dual certified, get your LPC license or hours for LPC associateship, but then also get your experience and the required hours for registered play therapy at the same time, especially if that is a RPT supervisor and an LPC supervisor. If you want to be certified in EMDR, find you an LPC supervisor who is an EMDR consultant who can provide consultation for that and just general supervision. If you are someone who is interested in couples and family and marriage, find an LPCS who is also Gottman trained or trained in any other couples, marriage, or family therapy related certifications. So keep those things in mind as you're searching for a supervisor. You're going to want to look for specialties and you're going to want to look for preferred population. Again, if you are interested in the private practice world, not only do you look for the said specialties that you want to work with, look for someone in private practice. You might want to find someone who takes insurance or not. If you want to kind of go the insurance route with your private practice in the future, find someone who currently accepts insurance so they can teach you how to navigate the panels and have those difficult conversations with negotiating rates and different things like that. If you only want to specialize in agency-based work, but you want to learn some additional specialties, then maybe finding a supervisor who's in private practice, but you don't really care to know the private practice space, find someone who specializes in it, who's worked at an agency similar to the one you're in, or who just has experience navigating those spaces. So those are some things to consider. Now that you know what specialty routes, all the different things you're interested in, the next biggest thing is to look for a supervisor who is well-versed in ethics. You want a supervisor that's professional. You want a supervisor that is going to support you in navigating this space. And this is very important. I've heard, there are some supervisors out there that will just sign your paperwork. I don't know these supervisors. I don't know. I'm not bashing nobody. I'm not in nobody's business, but that's what I've heard. So if you're an LPC associate and you're paying somebody just to sign your paperwork, you are doing a disservice to yourself. The reason you're doing a disservice to yourself, one, is because you're not learning as much as you possibly could be from this supervisor, one. And then two, you're in a position where you're paying somebody to sign off on paperwork, which is fraud. But if you ever get dinged by the licensing board and they ask you for all of your records, you don't have any meeting notes. You don't have anything signed, anything dated. If they called you and said, we need this tomorrow, you're going to be salvaging for the next 24 hours trying to forge some documents with your supervisor. What if they're on vacation? It just don't make sense to do that. So aside from it not making sense to do that, it's unethical. So according to the licensing board, you have to meet with your supervisor weekly. So that means 4 times a month at minimum, meaning once a week. Just if you have difficult cases, or if you're struggling with your place of employment on advocating for yourself, or if you're in a position where you're working at, they're asking for you to sign things off on things that you have not done, your supervisor can step in and support you with navigating those conversations, because your supervisor will be ethical enough to be able to support you in that while also maintaining true clinical supervision for the clients that you actually see at that location. Aside from that, if your supervisor is well versed on ethics, they're more likely to teach you things that will help prevent you from making mistakes if you ever went into private practice. Again, there's been so many people that have gone before the licensing board for things that really could have just been a conversation and supervision, could have been notated in your notes, and you and the supervisor could have mitigated that. But if you just got somebody signing your paperwork, you don't know if something is unethical. Yeah, you might go through and read the licensing board, but what does that actually look like in practice? So you just want to make sure you find a supervisor that knows the code of ethics. That is key. If you find a supervisor and they don't know the code of ethics, and you do something that should have been reported, or something that you should have made note of, or something that you should have followed up on, you're not going to know it. Why? Because they're just signing your paperwork. They're not supporting you through ethical dilemmas, which is going to be very necessary in this space. You're going to always need to talk about something or somebody or some case or some site-based unethical things that may be happening around you. So you just want to make sure that your LPC supervisor is ethical and professional. Now, I'm going to extend on the word professional. Right now, although social media is so big and it's a great avenue for us to be able to communicate about different things in the world, you want to make sure that your supervisor is skimming through your content, or you want to make sure you can have a conversation with your supervisor about what you should be able to put out there on social media and whatnot. Now, there are some things that I see on social media that some people are rocking with, but it's not necessarily ethical, because even though I may present as this person, as a person, and I'm saying I'm a person plus being a clinician, and I'm harming people in the process, you can lose your license for that. So I don't know if you're reading between the lines, but there are some things that happens online that associates put out there, that fully licensed people put out there, that supervisors put out there, that is costing them their license. So you just want to make sure that you have someone who is teaching you how to be professional, but also teaching you how to be yourself online, if that's something you want to use as an avenue of reaching potential clients in the future for your practice. Or if you're working for someone and they have you doing social media content, you just want to make sure that you are protecting yourself, because you have a supervisor that is paying attention to everything that you're doing and that's coaching you and mentoring you through these things. So just be mindful of that. The next thing you want to look at is somebody that's available. Please don't find a supervisor that has like 12 jobs. Now, if they have 12 projects, that's very different than 12 jobs, right? I can be a supervisor and be in the process of writing a book. I can be in the process of doing an e-course. I can be in the process of traveling, from time to time. I can have all this stuff going on, but I'm always available. But if I'm a supervisor that has a daytime job, an overnight job, and I'm doing supervision, I'm probably not going to have time for you for emergency situations. Or I might not be accessible because you can only reach me after 5. I understand you got an issue right now, but you're going to have to reach me after 5. Now, again, if they're in private practice or if they have a small caseload, you might have to wait an hour or two to get their undivided attention, but they're available. They're not telling you, catch me tomorrow, catch me outside tomorrow. They're telling you, hey, I'm in a session, or you guys know their schedule because they've made it readily available to you through some type of online scheduling system, or through text, or through phone call, or how they might have an admin that can pencil you in, whatever. You just want to make sure that when you find a supervisor, your supervisor is available. Again, don't just find a supervisor that's signing off on your paperwork, that's not teaching you professionalism, and that's not teaching you ethics at the same time, okay? And you also, again, want to make sure you find a supervisor that has specialties and different things that you're interested in specializing in. So let's get to the next part. You want to find a supervisor that is versed in all the things you want to do. So again, I mentioned specialties and certifications earlier, and that's specific to if you want to get a certification in something and that supervisor is duly allowed to supervise in multiple things, right? I hope that makes sense. Then it makes sense. But then some of this stuff don't require supervision. So if you have a supervisor that has a YouTube channel and they are doing numbers and you want to learn how to do that and navigate that space, get you a supervisor that has a YouTube channel. If you have a supervisor that's going viral on social media and you want to be on social media, get your supervisor to do that. If you want a supervisor who writes books, get your supervisor that got a couple books out. If you want a supervisor who can support you in doing personal research or just ethical research that is near and dear to something you want to do more research on, that you want to put out into society for people to have access to as a source of research or data for journals, get your supervisor that's been published in some of these psychological journeys like the APA, ACA, the school counselor ones, all the things, right? get you a supervisor that's been published. If you want a supervisor who is doing public speaking, find your supervisor that's done a few public speaking events or that has the opportunity for you to do it. If you want to do wellness retreats and different things like that, find your supervisor who potentially offers or hosts or puts together wellness-based things. You get my drift. You get where I'm going. So if there's things outside of the certifications you're interested in, and there's like personal projects that you want to get into that you're interested in, find your supervisor that's doing it. And the way you can do that is go to BHEC, find these supervisors, get on their website, get on their YouTube channels, get on their Instagram, see what they're doing out here in the community. Figure it out. If you want a supervisor who knows how to get into nonprofit management and provide nonprofit-based services with a private practice spin on it, find you someone who has contracts with some of the local agencies who offer some type of support. For example, I partner with Hearts to Heal here in Austin, and we provide grief support to people here locally in the state of Texas. So I'm saying all this to say is you're paying all this money for supervision. And so you want to make sure you're getting the bang for your buck. Now, again, if you're getting free supervision at your job, you might not get all this. You might not get to choose what type of stuff you get, but you do have the opportunity to get a second supervisor if that is something you want to do. Or you can choose to start with free supervision at your job. Once you get, enough money saved up to get the supervisor you want, then you go knock on their door, get on their website, send them a message. Hey, I see you do supervision. I got all my money for the next 9 months. Can you be my supervisor for 9 months? Let's set up an interview. Let's talk. Let's get together. I'm trying to see what it do, right? Reach out. You don't have to stick with that same supervisor. So if the first part of supervision is just to kind of get your feet off the ground, go for free supervision at your job. Do it. And then if you're like, okay, this supervisor specializes in this, but I want to learn, I'm really leaning towards this, find a second supervisor. Transition. That is 100% okay. Just make sure you keep up with your records. So I said all that to say is when you're finding a supervisor, again, you are spending your money. Money you're not going to get back. So make sure you get a good supervisor that is helping you navigate these spaces, not only through just mentorship. Are they reading your charts to make sure that your charts are unbiased and making sure that you're not harming your clients through your note-taking techniques? You want to find a supervisor that is available. Are they in the same office as you? Are they down the street? Are they available through text? Can you only see them online? What do you want? Find your supervisor that's professional. Find one that's ethical. Find one that has dual specializations and certifications that you are interested in. And also find someone who does stuff outside of therapy, right? If you want to get into wellness retreats, find somebody, talk to somebody, get to know these supervisors. Don't just go with the first person you meet. Interview several supervisors. If you don't, you're doing yourself a disservice. And as I mentioned in the video on how to or what to do once you graduate, in that video, I mentioned when you should be doing this. So if you go back and watch that video, you need to be doing this as you're studying before you graduate, if you can, as you're studying for your licensing exam after you graduate, and you should be ready to sign on a dotted line the day you graduate. So again, I hope these tips and tools helped. Dual certifications and specialties, professional, ethical, available, and someone who has interest in the things that you have interest in that don't necessarily require supervision, as I mentioned before. So hopefully this helped. And again, my name is Asha Creary. I am a licensed professional counselor here in the state of Texas and in the state of Missouri. So best of wishes on doing your research on finding a supervisor. If you have not and you don't really know where to start, there is another video on where and how to find supervisors in your area. So go back and watch that if you need to. And again, bye.